Welcome, everyone. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Raheen Ashimi Show. Welcome to another episode of the Raheen Ashimi Show. We got a show. We a lot of times we don't let anybody know when we're going to do the Raheen Ashimi Show. Just kind of put it out there, and this is one of those opportunities right now that we. I wanted to come on, and I wanted to talk to a few of you and find out what you thought about this whole situation dealing with this COVID-19, the COVID-19, and should our children be subjected? And everybody have their own way of feeling about it. Should our children be should our children go back to school? Is this the time? Is this the right time? Is this the right situation whereas our children should go back to school? I want to hear from you. And this conversation is mainly for everybody that's listening. 678-381-1973. 678-381-1973. I want to know, should our children go back to school? Should they be is this the right time? Should they be subjected to going back to school? Should they be subjected to being a part of the school system right now? With everything that's going on, this whole COVID situation, are we putting our children in jeopardy? Are we jeopardizing our children by allowing them to go to school at this time right now? We and there's a lot going on right now, man. And I definitely want to make sure. That I get you all's input. I know how I feel about it. I know how I feel about it, and it's a real personal thing with me. And now I don't have my kids are grown and gone. My kids are grown and gone, and so they're not in the school systems anymore. Truth of the matter, anybody know me, they know that my wife is an educator. They know that my wife is an educator. She works in the educational system, and I know how she feels about it. We've had conversations about whether this is the right time, whether they should or whether they should not go back to school right now. I certainly would not answer for her. I know she's actually at school right now doing some work at the school. But my thing is, where you are sitting, maybe as a parent, nieces or nephews or whatever the case, I want to know from you. Hey, Marty, how you doing, Marty? If you have an opportunity, Marty, give us a call, 678-381-1973. 678-381-1973. And I'm asking the question, should is are you going to allow your children, should our children go back to school right now during the whole corona situation, this whole COVID situation is running rapid. The numbers are going up, the numbers are not going down, but yet and still you have certain individuals in the school system that say that the children should go to school. And my question is, how do you feel about it? What is on your heart? Should the children be subjected to being in school right now? Should they be subjected to actually going back into that classroom setting? They're saying that, and they're trying to wave over this thing, saying that they can't go to school. They're saying that they have to practice. One of them have to wear a mask, wash their hands, having this social distancing, and all these other things. But truth of the matter, these kids are in school. This is something they've never had to do before. They've never had to go to school amongst their friends. They get around their friends in school. What make you think, or what make the higher ups think that these kids and what do you think? What do you think these kids are going to practice social distance? Do you think they're going to wash their hand? Do you think they're going to walk around the school? Kids at the age that they're at, do you think they're going to walk around the school with a mask on all day long? The kids, you know how you were when you were a teenager. You wanted to be cute. You wanted to be cute. And in the course of you being cute, you ain't gonna want no mask on your face all day. You're just not gonna want it. So my question is 678-381-1973. 678-381-1973. Asking the question, should our children go back to school right now during this whole COVID, during the height of this COVID situation? And they're also going to be, they're saying that the second half of the year, in the fall and the winter, when the kids are going to be in school, if they go back to school, that's when it's going to be another outbreak. It's going to be another outbreak that's going to be worse than what it is right now. So my thing is, should our children go back to school? Should our children be subjected to going back to school during this whole COVID situation? Should they be in school? Should they have to go and deal with what's going on in this whole COVID? I would like to know from you. My thing is, we got a comment here. I knew I wasn't sending. Okay, somebody said I knew I wasn't sending my children to school in March when they first closed it. And so this is a comment that has happened, and I want to hear from you. This is not for me because I know how I feel about this situation, and I certainly appreciate the comment that was actually put out there right now. This is by Marty. Marty, I definitely appreciate your comment. But my thing is, how do you all feel? 678-381-1973. 678-381-1973. Are you sending your children back to school? And a lot of people say, I've heard things, and truth of the matter, I got to be honest with you. I've heard people say that I'm going to send my children to school because it's too expensive having them at home. Groceries bills are going up, and the light bills are going up. All these things are going up. Is that really what you're thinking about? Is that really what's on your mind? How much money you have to pay for groceries? Is that really what you're thinking about? What you have to do? The light bills and all the other things. You're talking about your children's lives. You're talking about their lives. Are you going to subject them to some of the things that they're going to be exposed to in going back to school when school starts back up? And it's only a few more weeks before school is going to start back up. So and when school starts back up, are you going to have your children in that classroom setting? Are you going to have your children in that classroom setting? Are you going to have your children in school? Or are you going to have your children? Are you going to subject your children to all the things that they can potentially be exposed to? 678-381-1973. 678-381-1973. I want to hear from a few people. I want you all to call in, and I want you to tell me what you think. Tell me what you think. Are you going to do it? What are the pros and cons? What is there to gain? I okay, that was okay. That was Leonard that said, I'm sorry, Leonard. Leonard, you need to give us a call, Leonard. You know the number 678-381-1973. Give us a call, because what I want to know, and this is an impromptu broadcast. I usually don't do the Raheen Ashimi show, but I was in the studio, got a little time on my hands. So I said, let me go ahead and go live and find out how everybody feel about this. 678-381-1973. Why would you send your children to school? Why would you not send your children to school? Are you going to send your children to school? Give us a call. Again, 678-381-1973. Would definitely love to hear from you. I want to hear your input. I want to hear your heart on the whole situation. Are you going to send your children back to school? Are your children going to be sitting in that classroom when school starts back up? And if they were to go to the school, and they will go to that school, and if you decide to, and it's your choice, can't nobody tell you, how to make your choice or what you need to do. But my thing is this: if you do send your children back to school, and they're sitting in that classroom setting, and for whatever reason, they come down with something. They come down with something. They're exposed to something. Are you going to take responsibility to that? Marty says no. They shouldn't. I'm a sub teacher. Marty, I would love you. You've been a substitute teacher. I would love for you to call in, Marty. Give us a call. 678-381-1973. 678-381-1973. I would love to have your input. Marty said, no, I'm not sending my children back to the school. And Marty said she won't go. And that's an excellent question. Should the children go? Mm-hmm. Should the children go back? I mean, I'm sorry. Should the teachers go back to school? Should the teachers be exposed to? I know it's their job. I know it's a profession that they chose. But is it really to die for? Is it really to die for? We have a call. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from?
This is this is Tawanda Grace.
Tawanda, hey, how you doing, sis?
I'm hanging in there.
You're doing more than hanging in there, sister. You're doing it. Well, I need to know, and tell me what you think, because I know how I feel about this whole situation, this whole school, and the COVID-19, this Corona outbreak. But should the children go back to school? What do you say? Should the children go back to school during this whole pandemic? Should they be back in their classroom?
Ooh, I had to collect my thoughts before I called in. Collecting my thoughts so I remember where I am.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because this is absolutely insane.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane to even consider.
Yeah.
To even be considering sending them back. It has nothing to do with education. It has nothing to do with the love of your kids. It just has to do with whether they want to lose any state or federal funding.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it has to do with.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care anything about your kids. The problem is that we're in the middle of phase 2 of the pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
which many states, they're trying to consider if they want us to back up and go back to phase one, which is
Yeah.
the total lockdown again. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And you
Now,
and Georgia here in Georgia, they've actually our mayor has sent it back to a phase one. It's back at phase one now.
yeah,
Yeah. Go ahead.
yeah, it's some states, like, okay, my state, for instance, we went from having, we have like uh two hospitals. We have three main hospitals. Large. I mean, they hold a capacity of thousands. It's where people from other states get flown in.
Mm-hmm.
And we had one COVID-19 floor. Now, I don't
Wow.
want people to be confused. It was a whole floor. It's a
Wow.
whole floor, not for the COVID. Okay.
Mm.
Now, since then, because we haven't really been, since this whole Black Lives Matter protest been going on, it's been cut, the news of COVID. So we now have four floors. Every hospital that I know
Mm.
is at capacity. Okay, it's affecting the younger generation of kids now. And they're not, their immune system is not cut out to take this hit. As hard. This is why you see it mutating a little bit within children. They don't have the same system. I would say this. I'm not sending my kids back. They
Mm-hmm.
have to do whatever they do. You can come try to lock me up. You can do whatever you need to do. But until these government officials can have a meeting. They had a meeting whether to reopen the schools. Let me tell you how they had this meeting. They didn't have the in-person meeting. They
Mm-hmm.
had a conference call. So until they can go in the actual school and sit
Yeah.
down,
Yeah.
have a meeting,
Mm-hmm.
then I'll consider. But it's not no time. What needs to happen is they need to have a whole nother school year of e-learning. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It makes no sense. Think about when your kids go to school. The first week of school, how many kids come home sick? Why? Because somebody's going to send their children
Exactly.
to school
Mm-hmm.
sick. You can't even cover a stomach virus in
Mm-hmm.
schools. They for sure can't cover the transmission of hen lice from
Mm-hmm.
person to person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they talked about with my son, and I feel bad for him because he's an athlete. This was his star year. They had scouts coming in, but your life is way more important than scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
And people are saying, "Well, I have no choice." You're gonna bury your damn child.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna bury your child because they don't care.
Mm-hmm.
If we look at other countries, okay, you look at other countries and how they're doing. This is countries that's been through it. Now, for instance, China, they've been through phase one, phase two. They reopened schools.
Yeah.
You see what happened to
Mm-hmm.
them? They're reclosed because of
Exactly.
the reinfection rate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this thing has the ability to mutate so much so that it takes on a whole nother life of itself.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be able to let this thing die out
Yeah.
somewhat,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not going to totally go anywhere. We're talking about an airborne
Yes. Yes.
disease.
Mm-hmm.
So how is these little, and if you look at the schoolroom setting of them going in and so much so how they're going to these desks are 6 feet apart.
Mm-hmm.
So something that's airborne in a small classroom, I don't care. I don't care if you put cinder blocks. I don't care if you put plexiglass. First of all, how are these kids going to get to school?
Yes.
They're still going to be on the same bus setting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What are they going to do for lunch in the cafeteria? You see what I'm saying? So it blows my mind.
It's a lot of things, and Tawana, you were right, and I'm glad that you said that. So it's so many different elements that they're not considering. And my thing is, I said earlier about teenagers, young teenagers, and when you're at a certain age, you want to be cute. And they're talking about where they got to practice wearing their mask and social distancing. They're not going to do these things. You're talking about how do you enforce it? You got a school full of children. How do you enforce and make sure that everybody is keeping on their mask? How do you do that?
Because it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You got to realize that when this first started happening, we had people that didn't even know how to wash their hands properly.
Mm-hmm.
So these need to believe, and these are grown-ups. These aren't children.
Yeah.
So if they don't know their own stuff, then they didn't teach their children, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But they're kids. There's no way. And then what kind of masks are we talking? Are we talking about these little surgical masks that we know absolutely have almost zero benefit?
Yeah.
I mean, come on now. Let's be realistic.
Exactly.
You gotta be realistic. And we're in the middle of it just baffles me that the state that we're in. We're in the middle. Like we're a joke. The United States has to be a joke right now to other countries. I've seen it because no one else is considering this. China, I mean, they considered reopening, but they waited until they thought that it had phased out, which it did. But the problem is that it's going to take a while, and as long as we playing these little games, and as long as we doing things that we don't have nothing that we're not supposed to do, we're going to keep starting over. Now they're talking about maybe we might be out of this in spring of 2021. Okay,
please.
Yeah, the dates keep getting pushed back because nobody's following the guidelines.
Exactly.
It's really simple.
Let me do this. We have another caller, and sister, I love your passion because that's why I wanted to have this conversation, because a lot of things a lot of people are not looking at, and the higher ups, the ones that's supposedly making the decision for our children, they're not taking these things into consideration. They're not taking them into consideration at all. We have another caller. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from?
What's up, Raheen?
Leonard, Captain Leonard. Look at here. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it, brother. Let's talk about it, man. They're talking about opening up the school. They want to open up the school. Initially they were saying there was going to be, and here in Georgia, they was talking about it was going to be the whole digital year, and they were not going to. Now they're trying to come back and say open up the schools. My thing is, Leonard, are you going to allow your children to go to school during this whole COVID-19, this whole pandemic situation? Are you going to allow your children in a classroom?
Well, I knew I wasn't sending my kid back to school when they first dismissed in March.
For
the very simple fact is I understand the danger of this disease, of this virus. And school is a horrible place to be at a time like this.
Absolutely.
I could see if we had a major, I could see if we were at the point where we had a major decline in cases. But that's not, those aren't the facts. The facts are thousands increase in cases.
Yes.
More infection. We're already talking now about how before we had opened, the governor, I believe, they had set up some makeshift hospital or what have you, and they shut it down because no one was there. See, these political games is the reason why. People need to stand up and understand the government is not operating in their best interest. And one, you know how I am. I don't take folks' word for nothing, no way.
But Leonard, let me ask you something. What is and help me understand this, Leonard, because I know you do a lot of things in the political world as well. What is the motivation? What is the real motivation? And Tawana spoke a little bit on it earlier, but I want to go a little deeper with this thing. What is the motivation of them wanting to send our children back to school?
First of all, when you look at the makeup of the political structure, the only people trying to send your children back to school really are those people who are interested, who are usually part of the whole Kemp-Trump thing.
Okay.
And it has nothing to do with the safety of your children at all. It's about just trying to force this on the public to the point where it seems as if you are being put into this position by someone who has agenda really to make you sick. These could be the only people trying to force it government-wise. I do understand the community issue, especially with individuals who are in situations where, they may have issues at home. But what's best for the masses at this point is the quarantine. You can't stay quarantined and then send people to school. That doesn't make sense.
It doesn't go together.
So you have to understand that. It don't go together at all. And so you have to look at who is pushing the effort to go back. Now, I have a friend who's a superintendent, and they're still dealing with that question in another state as it relates to what they're going to offer. But currently, right now, they're still preparing for in-phase. And the reason why they're praying for some kids to come in faith is because they're using the notion that parents who can't, for some reason, provide for their children at home, or who don't want their kids at home because they would be there alone. That is not a good reason.
But Leonard, my question with that is, during the summertime, there was the same issue. The kids was at home. The parents still had to work, and the kids were still at home. So why are you going to cut it off, right? Okay, now it's time for school to start back. Now we're going to give you this big relief. You can send your kids over here. Well, when my children in my home, I know they're safe. When the children go to school, Leonard, go ahead, Leonard. I'm going to go back to Tawana. Go ahead. And the phone lines are open, 678-381-1973, 678-381-1973. Give us a call. Go ahead, Leonard. Talk to me.
And that's the very issue that has to be brought into the quotient. You can't be worried about someone else's personal life when it comes to making this decision.
Yes, come on.
What someone does with their child, this is not a question that's most important. That's your child. You're supposed to take care of your child, whether or not a hurricane comes through, a fire break out, anything else. Well, now a virus has broken out. So now you have to provide for your child. This is not a burden on the state or your local area or what have you. Now, what I do believe is that if this is an issue, then the municipalities and their respective governments need to provide supplemental assistance to parents. Maybe a friend of mine who said, well, maybe if we work with the churches, those parents who really can't trust their children at home alone, maybe there could be something set up where churches can set up to social distance and things like church ain't daycare.
Yeah, come on.
So we have to understand that unfortunately this is occurring. We have to take the best path to safety. And it's not going to school right now. For instance, before school closed, it took them a while to alert parents that staff members had tested positive.
Yes.
And we do know that some people will cover this up to protect themselves. Like school districts who cover up violence to protect their ratings.
Yep. All the time.
So we're endangering teachers, we're endangering not only the students, but we're also endangering the staff. And then pretty soon you're going to have an extreme shortage of teachers.
Yep, exactly. Let me go to Tawana. Tawana, what's on your heart? Because there's a motivation by some individuals to open up these schools. But what are you opening it up to schools to? Because you're jeopardizing all of these young children. You're putting these young children in harm's way by opening up that school. So why would they want to do it? What is their motivation, Tawana?
I told you, it's state and federal funded. You have to use this money. You have to use this money every year, or you're going to lose it. So it's not. That's the only thing that it is. Is that the school districts do not want to lose this money. They don't care. Not one single.
So my thing, I understand what you're saying, Tawana, but my thing is this right here. Is it that serious that you're willing to jeopardize all of these young people's lives so you get that money?
Oh,
they do it all the time.
Absolutely, they do it every day. This is one that said, okay, we had and I can't remember which state it was, but they had where these teachers were sharing this classroom for summer school, and it was a small setting. So it was like between 1 to 5 teachers who was rotating in this one classroom. All 5 of those teachers have contracted coronavirus from sharing this one classroom. Okay. So if you can't control it,
affecting the classroom.
Absolutely. So, and that's another thing, Leonard. Okay, they don't have a plan. First of all, they can't clean the schools on a regular school year, okay? So you tell me, in what budget do they have to be able to disinfect these classrooms in the school every day? It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Let me talk a little bit about, because people get so confused, and it's luckily that I get to talk to a lot of great doctors that talk about this subject when they can, because they're threatened. Like they cannot talk about this, or they're threatened to be fired because and now come on now. They can't tell you the truth about this coronavirus because they're going to be fired.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the amazing part that I can't even understand why it's even a thought. You have a airborne disease right now that's running rampant. Okay, and it didn't have to be this way. It really didn't have to be this way. But let's talk about a little bit, because I hate the term that they use, airborne, but I understand why they're using it, because what we found out is, okay, coronavirus has the ability to withstand in air. Now, mind you, it's not just out here free floating. You're not just free floating. It has to be a person that has the virus that coughs droplets in open space. But if that should so happen to happen, then coronavirus has the ability to stay in open air for 3 hours.
And so
before it dies.
And see, what I don't want people to miss what you just said. It has the potential to stay in the air for 3 hours. Now, if one of the children in the school system go to the bathroom, they go to the bathroom and use the bathroom, and they have the coronavirus, and they sneeze or they cough or whatever, and they expose it into that area. And now you got other children that's going into that same bathroom. What's going to happen?
I mean, you don't even have to you don't have to take it to the bathroom. You can take it to those small classroom settings. You got to understand that look at the school structure, specifically minority schools. Look how packed the classrooms already are. You have 20, 30, maybe sometimes 40 kids to a class. It's no way that you can isolate and separate these kids. There's no way that you can keep them safe. One kid that's affected with coronavirus in a small classroom that will cough and expel droplets in open air, you will have all of those students sick within a matter of that same day.
Wow. Leonard, how dangerous is that, Leonard? How dangerous is it really to expose our children to this type of harm?
It's very dangerous, and and talking about the virus itself, professionals should already know. So this is why it's not just an issue of how deadly the virus can be. It has the all the pieces of an agenda attached to it. Because if you had mothers making decisions, guess where these kids would be?
They'd be at home.
They'd be at home.
Yes, without a doubt.
If you had people that actually cared about their family, that's where those kids would be. Now, the people making the decisions don't care. You have those, and we can't blame it on the school system, because the school system is reacting to what these boards are doing, and the boards are reacting to what
now, hold on, Leonard. Now, I want to stay right there for a second or two. Let's stay right there just for a second. You say the people that's making these decisions don't care. Are we talking about the educators, the people that's on the school board, or are we talking about the government? Which one are we talking about here? Or is it a combination of both?
You're talking about your school board.
Wow. The very ones that's supposed to educate and protect our children?
The only people, the school board should be serving at the pleasure of the public, first of all. But you have individuals on your school boards that are agents of state governments who are going to be sitting there to insist that the head of the state's role is present on that board. So if you're sitting at a meeting and you have 10 board members, who is pushing children to go back to school on that board? Like, if you got a problem with your principal, you know who you go to? You go to the board. The board can get rid of it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
School board have the discretion.
Come on.
To do what they want.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So they're sitting. I know folks on boards. I know area superintendents and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, Newton County School System
Okay.
has an excellent plan.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I was not happy with the first option, but I had two other options to choose from as a concerned parent. Their first option was if you got to send your kids to school face to face, you can choose that. The second option was instructor-led virtual learning, 100% virtual. Then there even had a third option that says you can do the self-paced version of virtual learning.
Mm-hmm.
So now think about it. They just called to get an update. I'm concerned about how many people have chosen that first option. How do you staff a school for that first option?
Mm-hmm.
And as Tawanda was mentioning, they still got to get on the bus.
Yeah. Yeah.
They still got to go to lunch.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've seen some classrooms online, and I think they were overseas, where they put these shields around each desk, and the desks were all 6 feet apart.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
So they're trying to mitigate some of the issues. But why would we be sending kids back to school when we have such an increase in infection?
Mm-hmm.
We're not on a decline at all.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So for the same reason there were fewer cases when you took them out.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So what is the rationale for returning if the situation has become worse?
Now, Leonard, let me ask you this. What is the possibility, and Tawana, I want to hear your heart on this as well, but what is the possibility if we send these children back to school and they go to school negative and they come home and then they bring that, they contract it, they bring it back into the home? What's the possibility of that just a school being a source of spreading more throughout the community because of the fact that schools did open up?
First of all, without looking directly at the rules, I believe that would be outside of the regular normal definitions and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
However, unless some type of waiver is signed, parents should be able to seek restitution.
Wow.
But this is how it's done. If you're voluntarily sending your child into that environment, knowing what's going on,
mm-hmm.
how can you even think you should be able to get some type of civil action? It's because you volunteered.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't make you send your child to school. The reason why schools won't butt to the seat, like Tawanda was saying, there's a certain time period where you have to account for the number of children who are actually attending school. I think it lasts for the first 3 months or so.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been in that environment in a minute, but it's called that. And, when they figure out the funding that you actually should get, those butts have to be in the seats
mm-hmm.
and things like that for that funding. This is why you see the huge rally for attendance,
mm-hmm.
because the funding is based on the attendance. And see, after that period, you'll notice they be kicking kids out of school left and right.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
But see, they're not going to kick nobody out for the first 3 months usually.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to try to keep that on the low, so they can make sure that they have accounting for those folks. But you're going to have a staffing problem more so than you're going to have this problem with students returning to school.
And let me ask this question: not only is it important, and it's very important that we do protect our children, but what about the teachers and the administrator and the people that work for the school system? You're going to have an outbreak there as well, because they're exposed to the same thing. Go ahead.
And the moment they test positive for COVID, guess what? They out of work at least 14, 15 days.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. And the average household can afford that. And the average household cannot afford that. We got another call. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, what's up, family? What's going on? It's Kurt. From Charles City, Maryland, baby.
What's going on? Kurt, we're talking about what we're talking about right now is this is the Raheen Ashimi show. We're talking about, should we send our children back to school in the midst of this whole COVID-19 situation? Should our children have to go back to school? And would you send yours to school during this whole outbreak?
Nope and nope.
Mm-hmm. Come on.
I'm gonna go with the conspiracy theorist frame of mind for a minute. Can I do that?
Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, I already been there. Go ahead, sir.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so check this out, right? If I was to think like a conspiracy theorist, right? We found out about COVID. I think it was December 30th, right?
Mm-hmm.
We found out about COVID December 30th. We shut down the country March 17th is when the country actually supposedly, quote unquote, went to a national shutdown, March 17th. That was the day that I was told to pack my bags up at my desk, that I would be working from home from then until upon further notice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah. Okay.
Now, if you count December to March, that is roughly 3 months. Is that correct?
That is.
In those 3 months, we had a major widespread pandemic that almost toppled New York, almost toppled New Jersey, almost toppled Connecticut, California. And within this 3-month time frame, California, Texas, all of your large areas where the voting bloc, let's keep it real, where the voting bloc is primarily Democratic.
Mm-hmm.
If we was to really evaluate it, the voting bloc is primarily Democratic, correct?
Yes, sir.
So you're telling me that you want the kids to go back and in which we know that there's empirical data that kids will contract COVID at school and then take it home to multi-generational households where they will spread it to everybody in the household.
Mm-hmm.
How do I know that? Because my stepson is actually a product of just that happened.
Wow.
His son brought it home and gave it to all 3 of his sisters, his mama, and his daddy. Okay? So now, if you tally the time, and you say from December to March, that's 3 months.
Yes.
So if you go September, you got September to October, October to what? November.
Mm-hmm.
So what's going to happen is you're going to have all these people quarantined and they can't show up to the polls, or the people are going to be scared to show up to the polls and fear that, guess what? They're going to get COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So I could be wrong.
Okay.
But I'm not sending my son back to school.
Exactly. Tawanda, what do you say about that? And dealing with it from the conspiracy theory side that Kurt just brought to the equation. What do you say about that?
You say me?
Yes.
I'm trying not to cuss on here, but this is really.
I appreciate you, sis. I appreciate you.
I'm really trying not to cuss because I mean it's at best it's foolish. I told you guys it's only about money. And let me go back to something that Leonard said. I want 2 things I want to touch that he said, and I go to about Kurt. When Leonard was saying he was talking about China and how they took these extreme steps. One of the things that was not mentioned was when China took these steps. You have to realize that coronavirus there had peaked. Okay, we haven't seen a peak yet. Okay, so when it peaked, that means it wasn't no new infection rate. And it was very low. So they thought that it had peaked the very second, and they went to extreme measures. If you've seen some videos that went viral, they had the kids lined up 6 feet apart. They took their temperature outside. They gave them clean masks to go in school. They had the desks accurately 6 feet apart. And what happened? Everybody still got reinfected. And in the second wave of coronavirus, because of its ability to mutate, and we've had debates, I'm not debating on its ability to mutate because it's proved itself over time that it can mutate. It has the ability to mutate at an alarming rate. Okay. So I wanted to say that. So they have now shut down. Okay. Because of the reinfection rate. Okay. We haven't even peaked over here yet. And we're even considering, I don't understand how we're not taking lessons from other countries that's been going through it.
Is that an example, or is that a representation of our leadership that we're not taking the example of other people that's done things that has been positive? Is it based on that our leadership or lack of?
I mean, it has to do with leadership. It just has to do with common sense. It has to do with state, federal funding. It has to do with a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But this is what I want. This is what I wanted to add to this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Because we was talking about whether you would be able to sue, and if it was you. Listen, you are not going to. If you send your kids to school,
Mm-hmm.
and they should so happen to get sick and contract coronavirus, the school is removing its liability. I'm telling you how they are going to do this, and many states are considering, and they're on board with this, that in order to send your school back, in order to send your child back to school this next year, you have to sign a liability and death waiver. That means that if your child was to go to school and contract coronavirus,
Mm-hmm.
that the school district is not liable for their death, and therefore you cannot sue them.
Wait a minute now.
I mean, this is
Wait,
insane.
whoa. Let's stay right there. Let's stay right there for a second. So you're saying that they're giving you the choice whether you do or not. But if you do decide to send your children to school, you have to sign a waiver that if they were to get sick from the COVID virus, this COVID-19 that they know is there, you can't sue them.
You can't sue them.
You cannot sue them. You cannot sue them. Trump has lived. You got to understand. Trump has lived his life. He has been able to do all of the criminal things that he has been able to do under the banner of what they call, I think they call it an NDA,
Mm-hmm.
a non-disclosure agreement. That is basically what they're going to make the parents sign. In so many words, it is going to be a non-disclosure agreement. It's just worded different. So the wording, she is absolutely right. The wording of the agreement, and you can look it up online if I'm not mistaken,
Mm-hmm.
but the wording on the agreement says that the school district will not and cannot be held liable for the loss of life and or sickness of your child.
So what's
She is
going to happen?
absolutely
What's going to
right.
happen, Kurt? Let me go here with you. What's going to happen if a parent decides not to send their children? Are they going to be, because they got this truancy thing that's going on, and they say, well, if you're not in school, then we could get the authorities on you. Know. So if a parent decides not to send their child back to school, back into that environment, are they going to be held accountable for that as well?
Well, at the end of the day, all they're going to do is fail your child. They're going to fail your child if they're not adequate. Listen, man, she right. When she talking about the money grab, everything about what they doing is all a money grab, and they trying to. If you remember, I said a long time ago on one of the shows, I said, listen, this whole administration, these 4 years will go down in history as the largest heist in the history of the world.
Mm-hmm.
All they doing is stealing money, Raheen. They stealing money. They are stealing money. They're just doing it through different sources to get the money, but they're stealing money, bro. It's all about a money grab. It ain't got nothing else to do with it. It's all about a money grab. Guess what?
But
If
see,
you
Kurt,
can
my
set
thing
down
is this right here.
gold,
Kurt, hold on. My thing is this right here. My thing is this right here. And I understand what you're saying. And I'm not gonna say I agree or disagree with you. But my thing is the money grab is one thing, but when you're jeopardizing people's lives, that's a totally different situation right there. The money thing is one thing. If you're gonna steal money, do what you do. If we catch you, we got you. But at the same time, if you're jeopardizing, and especially these young people, these young children lives, school-age children, you're jeopardizing their lives, man. That's a whole different ball of wax.
Hey, absolutely right. I have one saying. I have one saying that goes to exactly what you're saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
Please hear me clear. Capitalism without a conscience is corruption.
Mm-hmm.
No ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's what you got.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you got. Capitalist mindsets that will do anything to remain rich and or get richer. That means that they will do anything to make money. They have no real concern about you, our children, our grandmamas, our granddaddies. The only thing they concerned about is them making more money. They will kill their own children
Mm-hmm.
to get their hands on more money.
Wow. Leonard, what's on your heart, brother? And the phone lines are open 678-381-1973. 678-381-1973. Say it one more time. 678-381-1973. We're talking about when you send your children back to school during this whole COVID-19 situation. What are the pros and cons? Should the schools even be open while this pandemic is going on? Give us a call. We'd love to hear from you. 678-381-1973. Leonard, what's on your heart?
This is, and like Kirk said, you know me, I'm 100% usually with that, what Kirk has said, as well as why I brought it up, which is why Tawanda just brought it out and told you what it is.
Yeah.
You have to think of from the district level, you know they were going to you're going to have to sign a waiver. Because they know what's going to happen to your child. Like Kirk said, and then your child goes home and you have a multi-generational household. Grandmothers and uncles and everybody staying together gonna get it. Now, you and just like you said, don't remember now we got elections coming up, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So John Ossoff, right here in Georgia, his wife tested positive for COVID-19. They are waiting results back now on him. This is no game.
Yeah.
This is no game. We could think about it. The people in, like, you have whole police forces now, some of them, not to mention all this other stuff going on in government. And that's why you know the pieces fit together. Civil unrest, all this chaos, and a pandemic has the ability to slow down an election immediately.
Yeah.
And you see what it's done. And this is why people have to understand. You don't have to be upset and so emotional in times like this if you elect leaders that care about everybody. You're saying, man, with kids' lives, that's a whole nother story. You taking into consideration these people really care about your child's life. They do not. The propaganda that you have been fed that someone else is caring more about your best interests. That's not all true.
That's a false narrative.
And now it's being exposed that a lot of people, like you said, corruption been around.
Yeah.
Right? So what makes you think it disappeared because this is such a bad thing and people could die? No, those same things are going to be doing what they want, even before the election. This is why I warned people not to vote for Trump. He's a gangster. I can't expect him to do any more than a dope man would do. But the dope man was a lot more,
not the dope man,
a lot more passionate and considerate.
Yeah. Wow.
These people don't care. They want the money anyway. This is why they are trying to defund and were threatening states in the first place. This is how a heist works. So if you sign the waiver and all these different things, is it really worth it to teach your kid how to say 6 + 1 is 7? You can do that.
Yes, sir.
It's a general education. You can teach your child these things at home. And with virtual and the technology that we have, you have the ability to go online and learn it as well.
Yeah.
The first responsibility of a person is to take care of their child, not the state.
Good deal. Again, we got a few more minutes.
Right as a citizen.
We got a few more minutes before we get out of here. We got a few more minutes before we get out of here. And the phone lines are open 678-381-1973. 678-381-1973. We'd love to have your input. Give us a call. Would you send your children back to school during this whole COVID-19 situation, during this whole pandemic? Would you send your children back to school? What are the pros and the cons? What is the reason why there's such a push to open up the school system? 678-381-1973. Kirk, what's on your heart, brother?
Well, you know, to go with what you just said, you know, God will always show you what has been hidden that will display your demise. You know, for years, people have been pawning their kids off to other entities, putting the responsibility to raise your children on somebody else. Well, you can't do that anymore. most of the people that's complaining, it's just my opinion, most of the people that's complaining about the schools being closed, they're complaining because they realistically ain't spent no time with their kids to start.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're being forced to have to spend time with your children, spend time with your family. If you pay attention, all these people raised all this cane to do what? Go to the bar and to the club. Mm-hmm. Are you kidding me, man? Are you kidding me, man? Now, when you go with the perspective of government and Trump being a thug, none of this is absolutely right. Let me put it like this right here. Even a dope man knew to stop selling drugs when Miss Blackwell hit the corner. When Miss Blackwell come around that corner from the grocery store, even a dope man know, hey yo, don't hand check nobody. Make sure she get her groceries in the house. Even a dope man know, hey man, Pastor such and such coming down the street. Y'all cut that out right now. Let him go on and walk through. Once he walked through and he gone, then we'll go back to doing what we doing. But see what you got, listen, I heard this from the man's own mouth. If y'all don't believe me, look it up. Matter of fact, I believe it's on YouTube and you can Google it. Quincy Jones told America that our leader was willing to pawn his daughter off to Quincy Jones. He was going to pawn his daughter off to Quincy Jones because he wanted her to date somebody who had money. Listen now, This man is the fact. I can't even explain. I don't even understand how people can even try and give him a pass. But I do understand the scenario and situation as to why he get a pass. But because we all have seen it before. We all know about the rich Caucasian kid who came from a wealthy family, who could do anything he wanted at the school, and they would cover that up. We all know about the rich kid who never got held accountable for nothing he did. His father always paid his way out. Some folk want to ignore that book. But from the snippets that I've read, Mary put it all on blast. She put it all on blast, Raheen. If you read, I'll end it with this. Folks, y'all want to know what's going on? There's two books that you want to read. One book is Destroying Democracy by Malcolm Nance. That's number one. It clearly tells you exactly how our guy was co-opted way back in 1982. It tells you how the NSA, the CIA, and the FBI been knew about his corruptive activity through Russia. It breaks it down. By the way, Malcolm Nance is a black Republican. He is not a Democrat. So let's clear that up, because you got somebody saying, oh, that's an old liberal that wrote that book. Malcolm Nance is a black Republican. If you read Destroying Democracy by Malcolm Nance, and then you get a hold of Mary Trump's book, you'll be able to put the puzzle together.
Someone here said, and some parents are complaining because they like to party and they flunk school too. So they're going to send their kids back to school so they can go out there and party. Wow. Tawanda, what's in your heart?
And to be honest, Raheen, we want to make sure that we separate the two.
Yeah.
Because there are people concerned now, definitely shame on those parents who just sitting on their behind, ain't doing that. And prayers for those who fear losing their job. You lose your job, you can't pay your rent. You can't pay your rent and home. See, right now we're looking at a huge upswing in homelessness.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Exactly.
And it's
Hey, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Kurt.
Can I ask Leonard a question?
Go ahead.
Because I was trying to do this math, man, and I'm trying to figure out. I'm saying to myself that it's impossible that I'm getting my figures right. So I'm really. I swear to God, y'all. Listen. I'm real good with basic math. And the algebra, the geometry, all that, I suck. I don't mind saying it. I'm not good at that. But kind of basic math, I'm fairly decent at it to the point that I can do it in my head.
Okay.
So our national population in this country, right? According to the census reports and Social Security cards that's issued, is 330 million citizens, right? Is it safe for me to say that?
Yeah, we can work with
we can go with that.
That's my total census, right? So now, if the government issued everybody $1 million, $1 million, right?
Okay.
Would that not total $330 million? Or is my math wrong? Would that total 300 billion? Or would that total 330 million if every single person with a Social Security card was issued $1 million?
You're looking at billions.
So
Yeah,
so it's 300.
You're looking at billions.
Yeah, your math
So
is real.
So it would total to be 330 billion.
Yeah, you up there.
Right?
That's more.
Yeah. That's closer to yeah.
Okay, so at $330 billion, right? Now we're gonna do a little bit of basic math. Basic math says that the numbers that they put out is that the stimulus that they gave cost the total of the stimulus that they just gave to the people cost a total of $500 billion.
Right. So you have to think.
So if it costs
an astronomical amount you're talking about.
So, but I'm saying if it costs 500 billion, right? If it costs us 500 billion, if you subtract 330 billion, then wouldn't you save 170 billion just by issuing out $1 million to everybody?
And here's the logic behind the numbers game. And a lot of people, would be shocked. But if you're operating to save Americans, and you have to look at how we're made economically, Americans are suffering because they fear losing rent, their homes and things like that because of jobs or what have you. So rather than just giving people the money, what you can also do from a more conservative standpoint is the people who are on the receiving end of the money must receive some type of subsidy to replace those rents and mortgages.
Yeah.
So there you go. Allocate the money.
Right. And so
that's what you say. Okay.
The money, when you give the money to the public may still make the decision not to pay rent. And they, like, say, for instance, with this past stimulus, we can all be, I remember people were just harping on folks about how they should spend their money. I'm not that type of guy. It's not my deal. It's your money. If you don't choose to do what's the best thing for you, that's your fault.
Yeah.
But one, you have to provide an economic environment that does not exhaust the business infrastructure as well. And definitely if we're talking about rents and mortgages, because that's most important. Georgia right now is about to release, I believe, their evictions, because there was a stay on evictions for a little while.
Right.
And like if you notice, most of your public utilities and things like that had delayed cutoffs or what have you. So now they have announced this hard line where they should start going back after this revenue. And it's simply because the government may or may not be funding them any longer. So that's how you come up with a balance it's not just throwing money at the people, but what about the people that you rent from?
Yeah, yeah. Let me go to Tawanda. Then we're gonna get on out of here. We're going to run into our next broadcast, which is Real Women Live, of Real Women Atlanta Live. So I gotta get ready for that particular broadcast. So what's on your heart, Tawanda?
I just wanted to say real quick that someone asked the question earlier. What will they do if you don't send your child back to school? Me, I don't care what they're doing. They can do whatever they want. Yeah, I mean, I can go to court. Right now, the court is not even open, so that's not even a discussion that I'm even considering. But I want people to think this, because I think this is the primary reason of why people are scared. Okay? It's nothing that they are going to be able to do if enough people don't do it. Okay.
Yeah.
The same way that these people are out here rioting and protesting for police brutality is the same way they should be out here rioting and protesting for your children, for the safety of your kids. If enough people don't send their children back to school, it's absolutely nothing that they can do about it. Why? Because they're outnumbered.
Exactly. Well, the question was with the whole COVID-19 situation, should our children go back to school? Should our children go back to school in the course of that COVID-19, this whole pandemic that's going on? Should we subject our children to the possibility and the potential of becoming ill? I say no. I say the school should stay closed. They could do it the way they did it at the end of the school year, make it a virtual school. Now the kids are in the comfort of their own home. They don't have to worry about being exposed, because just like I said at the beginning, if you remember back when you was a teenager, we all wanted to be cute. We all wanted to be up in somebody's face. We all wanted to be that individual. Now you're gonna tell me yes.
Let me say something. Let me add one more thing really quick. Okay, I think a lot of people are saying, because I see some people that are saying, oh, well, I don't have access to laptops and stuff like that. You need to check with this school, because they have the ability to issue them out. They have the ability to give them access. But also, like what my state is doing for the kids, because my son didn't have access. He does now because school issued out laptops. They have the option of every Monday and Wednesday, I make sure that I go to the school, and it's a line that you can go and you can pick up regular work packets, and they have to be turned in on time. If these people are upset because it takes them out their regular normal pattern, you have to do whatever you have to do for the time being. Otherwise, we're never going to get rid of COVID-19.
Exactly. And my thing to that, you have to make your own choice. You have to make your own choice as to what you do. But if the choice was on my plate and I had to make that decision, there's no way my children will be in that classroom setting. Because like I was saying earlier, everybody want to be cool. Everybody want to be this. They're not going to wear the mask. They're not going to practice that social distance. They're not going to do the thing, washing their hands and all that. They're not going to do it. And how do you enforce it? How do you make them do it? You got a school full of kids. How do you make sure every one of them children in that school is doing what, quote unquote, the right thing to do in regards to making sure that they don't contract this COVID-19? You can't.
Especially K through 5.
Exactly. There's no way you can do that.
Especially K through 5. It's no way. You know what, Raheen? I'll end my thought with this. You cannot do this you cannot do this without a national plan. I have said over and over again, and I heard it last week, one of the doctors out of Hopkins actually just completely broke down and said, had there been a national shutdown, period, of the country, the first 2 weeks of COVID, you would not even have a problem right now. You wouldn't have a pandemic. The country that we live in right now has never, ever actually shut down. This has been a debacle at its finest, bro. If this was any other person, if this was any other CEO of a major Fortune 500 company, Leonard, If you was the president of the board, you're fired.
Good deal. Listen, y'all. We got listen, y'all. We got to get out of here. Kurt, we got to get out of here. We got to get out of here, man. I got to get ready for this next broadcast. Oh, y'all listen. Can y'all hear me?
That's all I want to say.
Okay. We got to get out of here, man. This has been a great broadcast. And my thing is this right here. My thing is this right here. I wouldn't do it. I can't tell anybody what to do with their children. Those are your children. You have to make the decision what you think is best for your children. But as for me, there's no way I would send my children back into this harmful situation. There's no way. Then you've been listening to the
Raheen. That motion.
Exactly. You've been listening to the Raheen Ashimi Show. I want to thank everybody for joining us. It is now 12:51. Get ready because we have our real women real women Atlanta Live coming on at 1:00. So make sure you stay locked in for that great broadcast as well. They will be here from 1:00 until 2:00, and then after that we have My Way. We have My Way that will be on from 4 to 5. So make sure you stay locked in for that one as well. Got a lot of great things going on here at DKM Media Group, and the best part of it is you. So make sure you keep coming back. Make sure you keep supporting us. We definitely appreciate each and every one of you. It is now 12:51. You're about to exit the Raheen Ashimi Show, but before you go, I want you to do me two favors, if you will. One, I want you to continue to pray for us because we are certainly praying for each and every one of you. Number two, why this is real simple. I want you to go out there, find somebody, and give them a hug because you never know. It could be the only hug that they get, or it could very well be their last. Love you, and ain't nothing you can do about it. Have a great day and a better tomorrow. Now we shine some of this light on you from the morning glow, from the Raheen Ashimi Show. Take this light out there into this wicked and cruel world that we live in, and let your light so shine. Y'all have a great day. Love you, and take an opportunity and love each other.